Well, a huge day for President-elect Donald Trump as the next commander-in-chief holds a series of high-profile meetings as he continues to form a new administration. Transition team officials say Mr. Trump is meeting with big names at Trump Tower, including former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, Florida Governor Rick Scott, NSA Director Admiral Mike Rogers, and South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. The president-elect is also scheduled to sit down with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe this afternoon, actually at this moment. And this weekend, Mr. Trump will meet with Mitt Romney. Joining us now, our friend and colleague Megyn Kelly, anchor of the Kelly File. Also, Megyn is the author of the new book, Settle for More. We're going to talk about the book in just a minute. But first, let's discuss the latest transition. I think the breaking news this afternoon, Mitt Romney is going to come meet, and the word is maybe he's looking at the Secretary of State position.
That's huge, right? That is big news.
Yeah.
And honestly, a credit to Donald Trump, because Mitt Romney savaged him in that GOP primary. And so one of the main questions here, and obviously we're very interested to see whether Mitt Romney is going to be the Secretary of State, but one of the main questions as soon as Trump got elected was, is he going to change his stripes at all? Is he going to do anything to reach out to, people in the Republican Party with whom he hasn't gotten along, or certain groups? And this, I think, says yes. Yes, he is, because as far as I know, they didn't have a makeup session, that they still don't like each other. So one of his first moves is to bring in an establishment Republican who doesn't like Donald Trump. And if he winds up offering him a position like this, I mean, it would say a lot.
Casey, Mitt Romney, on several occasions, actually on Neil Cavuto's show, questioned whether Donald Trump was hiding something in his taxes.
Yeah.
How do you sit down and break bread with that type of someone who is that against you for so long, and then do you go ahead and put him into your administration?
I think it's tough, but you saw that there's a beginning of a peace accord when after the election there was a tweet out that Mitt Romney had congratulated him, and he said it's very nice, just like we saw with the Bush family. So people are trying to build and mend fences. Yeah, I think it's tough stuff to kind of swallow it, because when people make these kind of comments or things about you, you take them personally because it's tough. It's hard to hear. And then also he was very adamant against him about his taxes, about the fact that he was concealing something and that he should not be allowed or be chosen, to be president, that he shouldn't be elected.
That he was a con man.
Yeah, basically. So now let's see. I mean, do you think he's going to give him a position of that importance? I'd be surprised, but you never know.
Dana, so Reince Priebus, I thought, was a brilliant pick as his chief of staff. Do you think Reince had something to do with, hey, Donald, we really need to reach across and say to the establishment Republican group, you're still part of us?
I don't know. I actually do think this is coming from the top, especially with the Nikki Haley one, because she's not that different from Romney. And then early on, she endorsed Marco Rubio and was very vocal in doing so. So I think that maybe what Republicans should think about in terms of if it is a big tent, then follow Trump's lead. If this is what he is saying, is that let's try to all work together, and maybe he's trying to recreate Abraham Lincoln's team of rivals, because that was a good way to govern. Then I also think not only if this is all true, because I take that with a grain of salt, a lot of leaks, but kudos to Trump, but also to them that would be willing to leave positions that they might have as governor, or Romney in his private life come out of retirement and agree to serve.
Greg, Rudy Giuliani has said, I want the Secretary of State job. He's basically said, he's John Bolton would be good, I probably would be better. How do you have someone who was really going to bat for you for a year and a half and put it, or is this as maybe possibly just an olive branch to the establishment, and where he doesn't really mean to appoint him as Secretary?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think it's really brave of them to invite Ted Cruz over, given that his dad killed JFK. I mean, he's got a family background in assassinations. I mean, that's gutsy. I think it's good. I think it's a really good sign to have these people come over, because Cruz was insulted by Trump, and then Romney went after Trump. So it's like getting all of these people together. It's a positive sign. My favorite part of all of this is Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi told Pence to reconsider appointing Bannon. So if anybody wants Bannon, have Pelosi ask to reconsider it, because that just basically made sure that he's going to be nominated. Because what are people going to say? Oh, Nancy, who would you like? Is Noam Chomsky good enough for you? We'll call him up right away. So I think a memo to Nancy Pelosi, you just basically got Bannon in by opening your big fat mouth. By the way, I hope he didn't bow to the Japanese Prime Minister.
I can guarantee he did not.
Yeah, I'm tired of the bowing.
Right.
So what do you
One
make
issue
of
voter
this?
you
From the
are,
left,
right?
you're
More
watching this
bound.
go on. You saw the fighting going on for a year and a half, the bifurcation of the GOP.
Right.
Is this the GOP getting back together?
I think it's more pragmatic than that. I think these people need to be confirmed. And what we've seen is, if you look at your State Department, John Bolton, you know, he was the guy for a little bit, and people said, I don't know if he can get confirmed. Rand Paul, remember, said, I would block him. And Rand Paul in the Senate Foreign Relations. Then you look at someone like Rudy Giuliani. And again, gee, he's taken money from foreign governments, from corporations doing business around the world. Could be complicated, could make things difficult for President-elect Trump. So then you start hearing about names like Nikki Haley, and of course you even heard about Ted Cruz, lying Ted, for either Supreme Court or, and you start to think, well, gee, maybe he's making up, and now you hear this talk coming about, I'm stunned. If Mitt Romney, not only was Mitt Romney opposed, think about what happened in the state of Utah. Right?
Wow.
I mean, he tried to stop.
He pushed Evan McMullen.
That's what I'm saying.
Can I ask Eric, because you know,
fruition.
could Trump be tooling them? Like exercising dominance by having them come over and just making them kiss a ring and going, get out of here?
Well, maybe not get out of here, but, you know, never was going to really appoint him anyway.
But
That'd be very difficult. To burn Rudy Giuliani, who said...
No, I mean Haley, Cruz, and Romney.
Well, I don't think so. I don't have any personal knowledge of this, but I will say this. You know, I have also been disliked by Donald Trump for some portion of his campaign. And when I went to see him at Trump Tower after, you know, a brutal 9 months, and this is documented in my book, Settle for More, he let it go. He really was able to let it go. Once you know, we sat down together face to face, because we had always had a good relationship, it was behind us. I let it go, he let it go, and we were fine. And I feel like I very much believe he has the ability to do that. And so, for what it's worth, I believe it's sincere. And I'll bet you Mitt Romney walks away, if he's willing to serve, with something.
And he said so that night that he won on election night, or do we call it the morning? I mean, it was like 3:15 in the morning when he gave the speech. Yeah. One of the lines in the speech was, for those of you who didn't support me, that's fine, I get it, no problem. But now I'm going to be reaching out to you and asking you to help me be the best president I can be. And maybe... let's just take him at his word.
Maybe,
maybe he meant it.
Yeah.
All right, someone like Mike Flynn. Mike Flynn is a pretty controversial guy in Washington right now. Okay. But Mike Flynn apparently is going to be the national security advisor. The key point here is Mike Flynn, who normally would look at for a job in the Pentagon, Mike Flynn can't get confirmed. That's a problem. Yeah. So he decides, I'll give you a position, doesn't require confirmation. So I think I have so much respect for Reince Priebus, and I think Reince is just thinking, how can we make this as smooth as possible?
So if Rudy Giuliani doesn't get Secretary of State, and given his loyalty to Donald Trump, where does he go?
Doesn't want AG.
Where does he go?
Take AG. It's a great job.
White House counsel?
White House.
There are a few people who may want that job as well.
That's a tough job.
There may be a couple.
Oh. Are you looking at me?
No. I'm just very
Ambassador to the UK.
I'm very happy to hear.
Everybody wants that one.
I'm going to take that Department of Awesomeness. Giuliani could head the Department of Awesomeness.
I mean, I thought you wanted Department of Interior for the parks.
I do want to go to the national park.
Megyn,
but I'm not asking for anything. Believe me.
You broke some news tonight. I'm thrilled to hear that you guys met, and it's behind you. I think that's fantastic. I love that idea.
Well, that's
it was in a special.
Yeah, I know, but it's great to hear you say it.
Well, there was a special.
You know, the other stuff is, I think, a fiction of some people on the left and the right who would like to see that, quote, feud continue.
But you know what, Megyn? A feud gets healed, and then another one starts.
You know, but it hasn't in our case.
Can we do this? Let's take a look at Ted Cruz. He revealed what it was like to meet his former rival from the campaign trail earlier this week. Listen.
It was very productive. I spent several hours in Trump Tower, had the chance to meet with the president-elect, with the vice president-elect, with senior members of the transition team. And I think we had very good and productive conversations about how we can work together to really deliver on the promises made to the American people. This election was a powerful mandate for change. I think the American people overwhelmingly said, we want to change the path we're on, and I am eager and committed to working with President-elect Trump, to working with the new administration, to get it done, to actually delivering on what we told the voters we would do.
So Megyn, your thoughts on that? Is Ted Cruz would he really take an appointment, or would he want to step aside and run against Donald Trump in 2020?
I think he'd take anything Donald Trump would give him, you know, of the proper stature, right? I think he's shown a willingness to serve. Look, it was a brutal primary by any standards, and Ted Cruz obviously has serious disagreements with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump gave it to Ted Cruz just as good as he got, right? I mean, he went after his wife, he went after his dad. Ted Cruz held on to that. You can't really blame him. But now, again, he's willing to let bygones be bygones. It's like some of the stuff that happens in these political races, you kind of got to say, all right, like now he's our president, and you got to support him and root for his success, you know, just for the country. You may disagree with his policies, but you have to root for his success as a matter of, you know, him being our leader. And I bet you Ted Cruz really would serve and probably be pretty effective as Attorney General.
AG?
I mean, it's got to be, right?
AG or even a Supreme Court justice, because he is bright, he's talented, he's a very smart lawyer. He's had plenty of time in front of the Supreme Court as well, so he's going to know his way around the ropes. And for him, it's almost a bit
around the ropes.
And you get him off the radar for good. He doesn't run against you ever.
But can he be confirmed? Because those senators.
Well, this is a
they want him out. They want him out. Everyone will raise their hand.
Do you remember when he couldn't get a vote on the Senate floor when some of the bills he was proposing because the Republican senators wouldn't vote for it as well?
But this is an exit pass.
That's a very good point.
But you know, here's
it's an exit pass.
Out you go. Take care. We'll miss you.
That's a good point.
But someone like Nikki Haley, and I think if we talk, you know, you talk about Mitt Romney being big news. I think Nikki Haley's big news. I think it would introduce a woman into the picture in a prominent position. I think she would bring in some of the minority support. The people would say, hey, this is a different look for the Trump team. So I think that's good news. And also, you know, when you stop and look at it, I was also impressed to hear that he was looking at Eva Moskowitz, who's a Democrat from New York, for education. She's, as I said, a Democrat, but she is a strong school choice person with the Success Academy here. So again,
right before he closes down the department.
Well, I don't know. He's got to name somebody. But I think
Nikki Haley could get through, by the way. So
I think it was also news today that Henry Kissinger was over there.
The ultimate outsider.
Oh, yeah, right. But, I mean, you know, part of this argument is no lobbyists. That was also an announcement today. 5-year ban on lobbying if you come to serve with him. What do you say?
I thought that was aggressive. 5 years is a long time.
It is a long time. So for someone like Ted Cruz also, that could hit you in the pocket.
Anyone?
Yeah, also I think Ted Cruz would be a bit of a redemption for him. It would elevate him again in a different stature, because if he decided or wanted to run again, then he also has the robes or, you know, kind of the austerity of being Attorney General that I think would make him look good.
I do like the fact he's taking his time. I mean, everyone's saying, why isn't he announcing more appointments? It's really, he's really on schedule with
David Axelrod
other
defended him.
Presidents. Yeah, let him take his time. Remember, he promised to make massive change. Drain the swamp, it's going to take a lot longer. If you're draining the swamp, you're choosing from a completely different puddle.
Excuse me. A different puddle?
Well, my point is, if you don't have the same swamp, I mean, let's say you go from Hillary Clinton to Jeb Bush.
Oh, let me just see.
So there's a lot of infrastructure already in place.
A different swamp. John Bolton, Rudy Giuliani, and now you're
nothing's
talking about Mitt
announced
Romney.
yet.
I've never heard of these people. This is a new swamp, America.
I
never heard of these Republicans.
Rudy Giuliani part of the DC
these are radical outsiders.
Would you call him part of the DC establishment?
Rudy Giuliani?
Yeah.
He was mayor of New York, I believe.
You would?
I believe he was the prosecutor
that would be the definition of a DC outsider.
He was an attorney under Reagan.
One interesting thing about the whole Mike Flynn thing is that it's signaling a difference about priorities, that it's no longer about old rivalries between Russia. We're replacing the Iron Curtain with the Islamic shroud, the idea that the #1 threat for us in our lifetimes, and even beyond our lifetimes, will be Islamic extremism. So I think that is a signal that perhaps, even though there are problems with Russia, and those problems are real, we have probably more in common with them existentially in this war against this bizarre extremist demon that wants to destroy Earth. Is kind of a bigger deal.
Remember what Mitt Romney said?
Yeah.
He said Russia was the #1 enemy, so I don't know how he and Mike Flynn will
#1 geopolitical.